Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. 73% of men over 50 report feeling less satisfied with their lives now than they were at 30, despite having more money, more freedom, and more experience. That's not an accident. That's the result of habits that slowly destroy you from the inside out. Let me be clear about something right up front. The damage we do to ourselves after 50 isn't dramatic. It's not a heart attack or a car crash. It's the slow erosion that happens in small, repeated choices, in things we tolerate and things we avoid. And unless we call these things out by name and kill them before they kill us, they'll eat away at the second half of life until there's nothing left but regret. I know you felt this. That nagging sense that you're running out of time but you're still living by rules that were written decades ago. That feeling that you're supposed to be enjoying this phase of life, but instead you're just going through the motions, waiting for some future version of yourself to finally start living. Brother, that future version isn't coming. This is it. This is your life, right now. And if you don't start making different choices, you're going to wake up at 70 wondering where the hell the last 20 years went and why you wasted them playing it safe, keeping quiet, and living by someone else's script. So here are the 8 habits that are quietly destroying men over 50, and what you need to do about them before it's too late. First, you're still worried about what people think. You'd think that by 50 we'd be past this, but most men are still filtering their choices through what others might think or say about them. You skip the solo road trip you've always wanted to take because your family doesn't get it. You don't speak up when your adult kids cross a boundary because you don't want to rock the boat. You keep showing up for weekly dinners with people who drain you because it looks polite. Here's the reality. Most people aren't thinking about you. They're too busy worrying about their own lives. And even if they are judging you, so what? You're not a kid trying to win approval anymore. You're a grown man with limited time left. According to research from Stanford University, men over 50 spend an average of 18 hours per week doing things they don't want to do simply to avoid disappointing others. That's 936 hours per year. That's 39 full days of your life wasted every single year. Live like your time matters, or risk dying with your life unlived. Stop asking for permission to exist on your own terms. Second, you're living by rules that were never yours. Somewhere along the way, you adopted a script. Maybe it was written by your parents, your church, your culture, or your younger self. Maybe you don't even know where it came from. The problem is you're still following that script, even after it stopped making sense. You keep doing what you think you're supposed to do, even when it doesn't fit who you are now. You maintain relationships that feel like obligations. You pursue goals that no longer inspire you. You avoid choices that would actually make you happy because they don't align with the script. But here's the truth. There's no committee grading your life. There's no scoreboard. By 50, you've earned the right to rewrite the script. If you don't, you'll stay stuck in a life that doesn't belong to you. And if you don't question the script, don't be surprised when the ending doesn't feel like yours. Society says, stay the course, don't make waves, be responsible. Reality is, responsibility without authenticity is just slow suicide. Third, you're avoiding the hard conversations that would actually change things. It's easier to go quiet, to keep the peace, to pretend everything's fine. I get it. But every time you avoid saying what's real, you trade short-term comfort for long-term damage. I'm talking about telling your partner that the connection's gone cold and pretending isn't fixing it. Telling your adult kids it's time to stand on their own 2 feet, even if it makes you feel like the bad guy. Telling yourself that the life you've built is safe, but not satisfying. These conversations feel uncomfortable because they matter. And one of the clearest signs of a life going numb is a man who hasn't had an uncomfortable conversation in years. You know what needs to be said. You've known for months, maybe years, but you keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect words, the perfect conditions. Brother, there is no perfect time. There's only now or never. And the longer you wait, the more damage gets baked in. According to the American Psychological Association, chronic avoidance of difficult conversations is directly linked to increased anxiety, depression, and relationship deterioration in men over 50. The things you're not saying are destroying you more than any difficult conversation ever could. Fourth, you're refusing to let go of things that are killing you. We all hang on to things longer than we should. Relationships that feel like obligations, routines that no longer serve us, titles that don't mean anything anymore, versions of ourselves that died years ago, not because they're still serving us, but because we're afraid to admit they're not. Maybe you're still holding on to friendships that drain you instead of energize you, still clinging to a career identity that no longer inspires you, still chasing approval from people who no longer matter. This is the sunk cost fallacy in action. The idea that because you've spent years in something, you need to keep it going. But time spent doesn't justify time wasted. If something's draining you now, it doesn't matter how much it used to matter. What matters is whether it still fits who you are today. If it doesn't, let it go. Cut the dead weight. Make space for what actually matters. Fifth, you're addicted to certainty. A lot of guys cross this line without realizing it. They go from valuing structure to being completely addicted to certainty. If they can't predict the outcome, they won't take the risk. If they can't see how it ends, they won't begin. You won't take that trip you've been talking about for 10 years because it feels uncertain. You won't start the business or project you've quietly dreamed about because you can't guarantee it'll work. You won't make the move that could change everything because you can't control all the variables. It looks like caution, it sounds like logic, but really it's fear dressed up as responsibility. Here's the problem. Almost everything meaningful in life lives on the other side of certainty. Reinvention, new relationships, new purpose. They all require the willingness to move before you have all the answers. If you only move when it's safe, you'll stay exactly where you are until you die. Society says, be careful. Don't risk what you've built. Play it safe. Reality is, the biggest risk at 50 is refusing to take any risks at all. Sixth, you're hoarding instead of living. I'm talking about hoarding time, money, and energy like you're preparing for a version of life that never actually comes. Yes, it's smart to be responsible. But a lot of men confuse responsibility with stinginess, especially with themselves. If you've worked hard and saved well, but you still refuse to spend on things that would actually make your life better, freedom, help, travel, experiences, then what was the point of all that work? You're sitting on resources you'll never use, waiting for permission that will never come, planning for a future that keeps getting postponed. Generosity doesn't just apply to others. Sometimes it means finally being generous with your own life. You can't take it with you, brother. Spend it on living before you run out of time to spend it on. Seventh, you've got the empty retirement mindset. Retirement should be a beginning, not an end. But too many men see it as a chance to escape their life instead of build a new one. They clear the calendar, sit down, and realize they have no idea who they are without work telling them what to do. The real problem isn't retirement. It's entering it with nothing meaningful to move toward. If you don't create something, purpose, contribution, exploration, connection, you risk becoming invisible to yourself. You risk spending 20 or 30 years just waiting to die, watching TV, playing golf out of obligation, and wondering why you feel so empty. The second half of life can be the best part, but only if you're moving towards something that matters. Not away from work, but toward purpose. Studies from the National Institute on Aging show that men who retire without a clear sense of purpose have a 40% higher rate of depression and cognitive decline within the first 5 years of retirement. You need something to wake up for that isn't just not working. Figure out what that is before you need it. Eighth, you're waiting for someday. This one's simple and deadly. Someday you'll take that trip. Someday you'll call that old friend. Someday you'll finally do that thing you've always wanted to do. But someday is the most dangerous day on the calendar. It doesn't exist. It never did. And every time you say someday, what you're really saying is never. Because someday never comes, and you know it. Brother, you're not out of time yet. But you're closer to the end than the beginning. And if something's on your heart, stop negotiating with time. Just start. Even small steps count. The second half of life isn't about playing it safe. It's about finally living in a way that feels honest and alive. So here's what you need to do right now, today, not someday. First, pick one thing from this list that hit you hardest. Don't try to fix everything at once. That's a recipe for doing nothing. Pick the one habit that's causing the most damage in your life right now and focus on that. Ask yourself, what would it look like to stop tolerating this? Not someday, now. What specific action could you take this week to start breaking this habit? Second, have one hard conversation you've been avoiding. Just one, not 5. One. Pick the conversation that's been weighing on you the most and commit to having it within the next 7 days. Yes, it'll be uncomfortable. Yes, it might cause conflict. But living with what's unsaid is more painful than any conversation could ever be. Third, let go of one thing that's no longer serving you. One relationship, one obligation, one version of yourself that you're still pretending to be. Give yourself permission to walk away from something that's draining your energy without adding any value to your life. Fourth, take one calculated risk on something that matters to you. Book the trip. Start the project. Make the call. Take one step towards something you've been putting off because you couldn't guarantee the outcome. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. Fifth, stop asking for permission to live your own life. From your family, from your friends, from society, from the script you've been following. You're over 50. You've earned the right to make choices based on what serves your peace, your purpose, and your time left on this earth. Nobody's coming to give you permission. Nobody's going to tell you it's okay to finally start living. You have to give yourself that permission. Listen, the habits destroying you aren't dramatic. They're quiet. They're subtle. They're the things you do every day without thinking about the cumulative cost. But that cost is real, and it's adding up faster than you realize. To every man over 50 reading this, you still have time. Not unlimited time, but time. Time to rewrite the script. Time to have the hard conversations. Time to let go of what's killing you. Time to take the risks that matter. Time to finally start living like your time is limited, because it is. The second half of life can be the most powerful, most authentic, most alive part of your entire existence. But only if you're willing to kill the habits that are killing you. Share this message with a brother who needs to hear it. Too many good men are slowly fading away, living by rules they never chose, avoiding conversations they desperately need to have, holding on to things that are destroying them. They need to know it's not too late. They need to know that choosing themselves isn't selfish. They need to know that the second half of life is supposed to be about finally living honestly, not just waiting quietly. Welcome to the brotherhood of men who stopped playing it safe and started playing for keeps. We're out here making our remaining years count, refusing to settle for slow death by obligation and avoidance. Your time is running out. Stop wasting it on habits that don't serve you. Drop a comment below with the one habit you're committing to break this week. Let's hold each other accountable to actually living before we run out of time.